Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make birria tacos. All right, we're going to start by setting our smoker up, but if you don't have a smoker, you can follow along to this in your oven. But whatever barbecue you're using, you want to set it up for indirect smoking. We're using the drum smoker. We're going to start by taking our cooking grate and heat deflector out. Then we just want to fill our charcoal basket up with either lump charcoal or briquettes. Then we will bury a fire lighter in there and light it up. All right, so we've got about 10 to 15 minutes before those briquettes are going to be ready, so we'll use that time to prepare our meat. Traditionally, I believe goat meat is used in birria tacos, and I've got a nice little goat leg here. I'd like to use a shoulder, but a goat leg is all I could find at my local butcher. And then I've got a couple of beautiful beef short ribs. So we're going to be using a mix of beef and goat meat. And now I don't think I've got a tray big enough for this whole goat leg, so I'm just going to knock this shank off. So we're just going to turn it over, follow either side of the bone down, work our way down to that joint. Just going to keep following it around until you get in between the bone. And there we've removed that bone there. And then we can kind of just tuck that under. And that will fit in our tray perfectly a little bit later on once we're ready to wrap it. Now goat meat is quite lean, so I'm not going to trim that up at all. There's no excess fat on there really anyway. And these beef ribs, they're not overly fatty, so I'm happy to just season all of this straight up. So all I'm going to do is just hit all of this with some yellow mustard to help our rub stick to the meat. If you don't have yellow mustard, you can use some olive oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and season it all in my steak shooter spicy, or if you've got another favourite rub, go ahead and use that. Or honestly, salt and pepper will do the trick, because there's going to be plenty of flavour going into this later on. All right, now these are ready to go on once our smoker's ready. All right, now our briquettes have caught light and are burning nicely. We'll shut our lid, open up both of our vents, and let our barbecue preheat to just below our target temperature, which for this cook is going to be around 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius. All right, now we're up to temperature. We'll open our smoker up. I'm going to get some cherry chunks on, but if you've got another favourite smoking wood, go ahead and use that. Then we'll get our heat deflector back in, and then our cooking grate. Then we'll get our meat on. So there's the short ribs, the goat leg. And then we'll shut our lid and let this smoke away. All right, our meat's going to smoke away for around 2 to 3 hours now, just until it gets some really nice colour. And then later in the cook, it's going to go into a broth all wrapped up, and that's when the meat's going to cook down and become nice and tender. So we'll let this meat smoke away. We'll come back later in the cook to check on it, and we'll also be back to make this broth. All right, this meat's been smoking away for just over 2 hours. And this is looking amazing, got some awesome colour. Some good drawback on the bones. I reckon we can close our lid and get started on this broth. All right, now the first thing we want to do is soak these dried chilies. We've got 3 Guajillo chilies and 1 Ancho. All I'm going to do is snip the tops off and de-seed them. All right, now I'm not too fussed if there's still a few seeds in there. But the next thing we want to do is just get this into a little container. And I'm going to get some boiling water in there. Then I'll just sit this lid on top and we'll give them around 10 minutes to soften up. And the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to get 1 brown onion. I'm going to cut it in half and peel it. And I'm going to get this into the barbecue just to get a little bit of colour and smoke. All right, and while our chilies are softening and our onion's getting some colour, we'll start on the rest of it. So we're going to add into a food processor a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Now the recipe and method for this and everything else I'll put down in the description for you to reference. But next we're going to be adding 3 tablespoons of chipotle and adobo sauce. We're going to add a 400 gram tin of chopped tomatoes. And you can honestly add as much or as little garlic as you like, but I'm going to add in 7 cloves of garlic, and then a teaspoon each of smoked paprika, oregano, and ground cumin seeds. And then once your chilies have softened up, you can add them in along with your brown onion. Then we want to blend that up until it's smooth. And you can have a taste and adjust it to your liking. I'm going to add a good pinch of salt, then I'll give it another mix. And that should be ready. All right, and then I've just got a tray ready. We'll get that nice sauce we've just made in the tray. Just going to get some chicken stock in that container just to get the rest of that sauce out. And then I'll pour that in. And I reckon I can add a little bit more chicken stock, just enough so it's not going to overflow when we put our meat in. And I'll give that a good mix. And now we'll open our barbecue and get the meat in there. So in goes our beautiful bit of goat and our beef short ribs. And then on top we'll add 4 dried bay leaves, a cinnamon stick, and around 6 cloves. Then we'll cover our tray with foil, and we'll shut our lid, let this cook away until it's nice and tender, and we've got an internal temperature of around 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius. All right, we've been wrapped up for just about 3 hours now, so we're about 5 hours total into this cook. I reckon this meat should be just about ready, if not ready now. So we're just going to open it up and have a probe around to see how it feels. All right, so that short rib meat is feeling very tender. That's right around 96, 97 degrees Celsius internal. Goat leg's feeling nice and tender as well. So I reckon what we can do now is get a bowl ready. I'm just going to get the meat into that bowl. That's just falling straight off the bone. Those bones can stay in there because we're going to strain that liquid. Get that goat out. Bring that over to the bench, and then I'm just going to strain that liquid into a bowl because we don't want to pick up any of those cloves or the bay leaves. And we just want to kind of press that through so we get all that flavour in there. And we'll leave that there for a moment while we pull this meat apart. Alright, so we'll take that goat leg out, one of the short ribs, and we're just going to simply start pulling this apart. As you can see, that short rib, beautiful and tender. Any of that membrane we just want to remove, as that's going to be a little bit chewy. Before you pull it, it's probably just easier to take it off the bottom of the meat there, and then the rest of that we won't have to sort through. Alright, and then our goat leg. That bone just falls straight out. Now I think that's all I'm going to pull off the goat leg because I want to maintain around a 50-50 mix of the goat and beef. And then you just want to sort through and make sure there's no little pieces of bone or gristle in there. But as you can see, that is some beautiful meat. And all I'm going to do now is cover both bowls in some cling wrap, and then they're going to go into the fridge overnight just to let them flavours develop a little bit more. And then we'll be back to put some tacos together. All right, we're almost ready to put some tacos together. So we're going to make some white corn tortillas. So we're going to start with 1 cup of corn masa flour. Now this corn masa flour, you won't really find that in any Australian supermarkets. You'll either have to go to a Mexican specialty store or get it online. Into that, we're going to add a pinch of salt. We'll mix that through while it's dry. And then real simple, into our 1 cup of flour, we're going to add a 3/4 cup of lukewarm water. And then we just want to give this a real good mix. And in the end, we're going to be looking for a Play-Doh-like consistency. And if it's too wet, add some more flour. If it's too dry, add some more water. And once you've worked that for a couple of minutes, we just want to sort of press it into a ball. Then we can leave that in the bowl. And I'm just going to cover that with cling wrap. And then we'll just let it rest for 30 minutes to let it rehydrate. All right, and while our tortilla mix is resting, we're going to finally chop up some coriander. And then I'm going to finally chop half a white onion. And we'll cut this lime into wedges. We're going to be using the coriander and white onion to go into the tortillas, and then the lime to squeeze over once they're done. All right, now our dough has rested. I just want to weigh out portions to around 45 to 50 grams. Right, and that's going to give us 6 balls. So we're just going to roll them up nicely into little round shapes. And then you can roll these out by hand, but I'm going to use my tortilla press. So I'm going to open it up, put a sheet of baking paper down, get one of our dough balls down, another sheet of baking paper on top, and then we'll close it up, press down, and there we have a beautiful tortilla. And now I'm just going to repeat that for the rest of these little balls. All right, and then in a non-stick pan on medium-high heat, we want to get our tortillas in. Just going to give them around 10 seconds originally on the bottom side. Then I'm just going to flip it over, and we'll give it around 60 seconds on the other side. And then I'll flip it back over and give it around 45 seconds again. You should see it puff up like so. And you don't want to take these too far because we will be frying these again once we get the meat and the cheese and onion and coriander in there. And then once it's done, I'm just going to store that in a pot with a lid on to keep them warm. And I'm just going to repeat that for the rest of them. All right, so now our tortillas are done. I've got a slightly bigger pan on so we can be frying 2 at a time. And here we've got our broth we made yesterday. I'm just going to take the top off that. And you can see this solidified fat around the top. I'm just going to skim that off and we're going to get it into our pan. And then we want to get 2 tortillas straight down. And we want to get some of that beautiful meat in there. Some Mexican blend cheese, some white onion, and some coriander. And then a little spoon of that broth in each taco. And we want to fold them over, press them down. Then I like to get a little bit of cheese on the outside. And then we'll carefully flip it back over the other way. And you want to be doing this over medium-ish heat so you're not sort of overcooking the tortilla before that meat's reheated back through. And then you want to scrape them off. And there we have a couple of birria tacos. We can just scrape off any cheese. We'll get down some more of that fat. Get our tortillas straight in that. And then we're just going to repeat what we just done. All right, now these are done. I've reheated some of that broth. Just want to get our taco and give it a dunk in there. Give a squeeze of lime over the top. And that's ready to taste. That is just an absolute flavour bomb. Honestly, birria tacos are one of my favourite things ever to eat. You have to try them. You can freeze any of that leftover broth and meat in batches, and then you can just reheat it to have birria tacos whenever you want. And you can always buy pre-made tortillas to make your life a bit easier too. But seriously, you've got to try them. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. But for now, that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.